Welcome to Wining and Dining with Jim White. It's the program devoted to introducing you to people who make the eats and drinks you love. Great people like Tiffany Derry, who is along with us. Tiffany, I'm delighted to see you. You are one of the busiest women in the entire restaurant business. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Jim. Excited to be with you today.
So good. You always look so wonderful. I can't wait to talk about what's new and exciting and what's going on. You're lucky because Tammany Stern, a big fan of yours, is here with us. Tammany from bestofguide.com, our guest gourmet, who's been with us for shows to talk about things. Tammany, how are you? Welcome back.
Hello, Jim. Tiffany, I'm so glad to be here with you today.
Yeah, so it's great. And, you know, we thought it might be kind of fun since both of you have kind of a love of Southern cooking and Southern styles. Maybe Tammany and Tiffany, you can swap a couple of recipes.
I love it. Yeah.
A couple of techniques
Awesome.
for our folks. So anyway, what's new and exciting? I want to congratulate you on Roots Chicken Shack because it gets the most incredible shout outs from all the restaurant critics at Legacy Food Hall.
Yes. No, we're doing great. You know, I think there's something special when you get to cook the food you love. I think there's a special connection that happens. So I'm super excited to be able to cook at Roots and share my love of chicken with everybody else.
It is so much fun. Well, I think people would be interested in knowing a little bit of the backstory about how the guys at Front Burner, Randy DeWitt and Jack Gibbons, and maybe take us into the meeting and how the concept came about for you to be a part of this just amazing operation.
Yeah, you know, some of the one I don't remember who exactly first made contact, but someone made contact and they were like, "Hey, do you have a concept that you would like to do? We have this amazing food hall. It's going to be great. You know, we're going to make sure that it's number one." And I'm like, well, yes, actually I do. I want to fry some chicken. And with the private social, I used to have the duck fat fried chicken, and it was our most popular seller. And I wanted to make it into a fast casual concept. And I had plans already that I was working on. And Jack and Randy just made it available, and they opened the best darn food hall there is. And there goes Roots, and it all just works out. I did a tasting for them in my home, and they just loved everything down to the sweet tea. They're like, "You're going to have to make this sweet tea available as well."
Yeah. So that's very interesting. Talk about, why the duck fat creates such magic.
You know, duck fat has been around for ages. Specifically in France, people would fry things in duck fat, specifically fries. You know, they say some of the best fries in the world are done with duck fat. And what that does, it creates this texture of crunch, intense flavor. And it kind of makes you go, this is delicious. There's something else to it, but you can't really figure it out. It's not a straight flavor like spices. It almost feels a little more umami.
So that's why pommes frites are so good.
Yes.
And then how did you decide to apply that to chicken, fried chicken?
It first was fries back when I had private social, and then we were playing around with the chicken, and I was like, what could be better than just duck fat fried chicken? And they were like, I love it. And I'm like, let's do it. And so we did it, and it was unbelievable with the spices that I do for the chicken. It was perfect. And so I said, okay, this is it.
You know, what's really amazing to me is that when we were there, and I'm sure this happens all the time, you were there.
Yeah.
You were there cooking and saying hi to people and doing that warm, wonderful energy that you put out. And how do you keep up with that? You've got so many projects.
I do. You know, if I'm in town, I'm going to go by Roots. I'm going to spend some time there. I do have an intense travel schedule right now, but every single moment, I love it. You know, I love being able to connect with everyone that comes and eats. A lot of them I know, a lot of people I walk away knowing from then on. And I have a lot of repeat business, which makes it great.
Are we going to see Roots Chicken Shack and locations elsewhere in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and around the country, maybe?
You will. There are plans to make Roots bigger. I'm also working on my Southern restaurant, Roots Southern Table. And so that will be hopefully coming alive this year as well.
Oh, okay. Have you picked out a location? I know that's
something
always
like that. Something like that.
Can you talk about this location?
What I can say is that Ruth's Southern Table is going to come this year. And it's going to be fantastic. It will have the duck fat fried chicken as well, but you would have so many dishes from what I grew up with, from my grandmother, from Baton Rouge and Port Allen, and those dishes that just mean so much to me that I don't find available here.
That's great. Now, this is where I want to get Tammany involved in here, because this is way over my pay grade if you're talking about Southern cooking. I can eat it. I love it. But, I mean, I don't know about this. This was actually something as a chef making her way into the hard knocks world of the restaurant business, which for the most part traditionally favored men
Sure.
at all times. This was something that I understand you resisted. You didn't want to get labeled Southern cooking.
Yes. So growing up, I believe that like French food and so many other cultures were the best, right? Those were the things that you had to cook. You cooked Southern food at home and that's the way you ate. But when you went out into the fine dining world of culinary arts, it needed to be more. And over the years, I just didn't want to do it. I didn't want to cook my Southern food. I didn't want to be labeled as a soul food chef or this is all that I could do. I wanted to show the world that I could do more. So I went out and, we had Go Fish and it was sushi and seafood. And I worked for Italian owners at Pesce. And I just wanted to show all that I can do. But in my older age, I am very comfortable with my Southern roots, and I don't care who else have an opinion about it. I believe that Southern food is on the top of the scale as well. And as you can see all across the country, there are people cooking Southern food, but I think that I have a little something different to offer everyone. It's my roots. It's what I do with my eyes closed. It's not something that I had to study. It's not something that it's something that just comes natural to me. And so I really want to get out there and show them.
Well, I doubt that there will be a point when anyone ever refers to you as older. But bravo for you for doing that. Now, Tammany, I wanted to give you a chance. I mean, is there anything you want to ask her, maybe a technique or a style? Because you're a big Southern cooking fan, too.
Well, her food tastes good.
Well, yeah.
It's Southern cooking, honey, but she cooks with the heart and soul. You can tell the difference.
So do you want to swap? Can we swap a recipe or do something kind of fun here?
I mean, what do you like to eat?
What do you want to make
often?
that Tiffany can help you with?
I like all the Southern specialties. I like the fried chicken, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I like fried pork chops. My aunt used to make the most incredible fried pork chops. Amazing. And biscuits and gravy and vegetables, creamed corn, creamed spinach, fried okra, salads. I just love all Southern food. Well, you can look at me and tell I love food.
Whatever.
And I love your food.
You know what, though? I think that's interesting is like all over the world, we talk about Southern, right? And the thing about Southern that makes it so different is that it's totally regional, right? Coming from Louisiana and coming from South Carolina, there's two different types of Southern cuisine. They don't cook the same. When you talk about geechee and all the foods from, that they're producing, it's a different kind of Southern. And so I love the fact that we can all have such connections to Southern food, but they're so different, right? And when I listen to you, Tammany, I listen to all the things that I grew up eating as well. But the thing that made it different for us was my uncle, he had a farm. And we cooked from the farm. And in Port Allen, we would go out and you would pick all your vegetables. You see the chickens running around, and it was very fresh in a sense of what we don't often talk about with Southern food. There's tons of vegetables that go into it. But the only thing is we want flavor. And there has to be some flavor when we're cooking. And so I really want to showcase the different types of vegetables and fruits that we eat in a different light.
I think it's very important. We recently took a trip to Virginia, and kind of the idea was to visit a lot of the Virginia wineries, which we didn't know were quite so good as they are.
Wow.
But a lot of the places that were in the local movement or farm-to-table movement with food were really focusing on vegetables. In fact, I don't recall the name of the restaurant. It was one in northwestern Virginia that really completely flipped the usual paradigm. And so that maybe 70-80% of the meal was vegetables, fresh grown vegetables right there from their farms and gardens, and just a little bit of protein or the meat. And it was a really great experience.
Yeah, I mean, it was expensive growing up, so we ate a limited amount of it. I remember growing up, even greens. It's one of my favorite things in the whole wide world: mustard greens, collard greens, turnips. Yes, to the greens. Yes. And my grandmother, because I came from a really large family, my grandmother had 11 children. So cousins wise, it's like 50 of us, right? So it was tons of people eating out of the pots. So anytime that you got up to get greens, you had to have it with rice. So rice was our filler. And then you would put rice on your plate, and then you would have to put greens or cabbage or whatever would go over the rice so that she would stop us, me, greedy, from eating it all. Like, and those are the rules, but there was always vegetables, whether they were stewed, whether they were fresh, pickled. At Root Southern Table, we're going to do watermelon rind preserves. And what my grandmother would do is she would take the watermelon and we would eat and, however we were eating the watermelon, but all the rinds she saved and preserved them to taste like jam. And then that's what we would eat with our biscuits and bread. So I'll do a lot of fig preserves, and I'll also do a lot of the rind preserves there too.
Let's see, I'm going to have to ask a follow-up probing journalistic question here. You can't tell us where you're saying in 2019. Can you narrow that down a little bit?
The DFW.
No, can you narrow the time frame down? Do you know when you're going to open the Roots
It'll be
restaurant?
third quarter.
Third quarter.
Yeah, third quarter for sure. Open by fourth quarter.
Okay.
How about that?
All right. We got it. We got it down. We got it on video.
First here, right here with you, y'all.
We want an exclusive.
Yeah. So let me ask you, Tiffany, were you cooking these great Southern heritage traditional meals for Oprah? You had a recent kind of fun time cooking for her?
I did. I enjoyed Christmas and New Year's cooking with Miss Winfrey. It was 3 of us total and chefs, and we had a chance to cook Southern food. Miss Winfrey loves to eat Southern food, so we did a lot of that. It was fun. I mean, from biscuits to smoked fried chicken to greens and peas and beans. And there's an amazing farm that she has, the OW farm in Hawaii, and it was an amazing opportunity just to be able to cook from the farm every day. It's like, what do you want? I want this. Okay, boom, there within minutes out of the ground.
So
Great.
This is in Maui, right?
This is in Maui.
So were you cooking for her in Maui?
I was.
Oh,
yes.
boy.
But I do have one thing to say. All of my time in Maui, I did not even see the beach. I know. Do you feel bad for me?
It's pretty isolated there. If memory serves, Oprah's place is right across from George Harrison's estate, and those are all pretty secluded areas near Hana, in the part of the island that takes 5 hours to drive to. So windy roads and waterfalls and tropical paradise, rainforest. So the beach is kind of like the 3rd or 4th attraction in that area.
Yeah, it's definitely not close.
Well, that is great. How did that come about? How did Oprah find you? I'm sure her people found you.
Well, actually, a friend of mine has been cooking for her for a long time,
great.
Kenny Gilbert, and he does a lot of her holiday cooking, and he asked me, did I want to go up and cook with them? And I said, yes. So we made a splash. It was fun.
That's interesting. So you mentioned her garden and so forth. Were there any logistical issues? Because it's a pretty isolated spot in Maui.
No, at that point, there's so much land and acres that it's pretty sustainable on its own. So
grow whatever the heck she wants.
I mean, everything is available. But that farm produces for Maui as well, not just her. So it's not just for her estate, but also a lot of restaurants. Like I went to Lineage on my last night with Sheldon Simeon. He was also on Top Chef, and he gets a lot of his vegetables from her farm.
We love Sheldon. What a guy. What a consummate host and restaurateur. When we're in Maui, we always look up Sheldon.
You have to go to the new place.
He's got a new place. It's in the western part of the island.
It's by the Wailea area. Wailea over there.
Still southern. Okay. Yes. That's good. Well, I know he's got the what's it called? It's the it's a shack. It's a roof.
Tin roof.
Tin roof.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So, but has he opened the new fine dining restaurant yet?
It's not fine dining. Lineage is not. Lineage is actually cooking from his roots as well.
Okay.
So he dig deep into the Philippine part of his cooking.
Well, good
That's
for him.
great. Yeah.
for
Look,
him.
we all are trying to just get back to cooking from our roots. You know, that's why I think Roots is a perfect name for a restaurant.
Yeah. Say, had Oprah seen any of your Top Chef work?
At that point, no. But once I was there, she quickly found out. Yeah.
Okay. And you're still working with the junior set, right?
Yeah, Top Chef Junior. I do Top Chef Junior judging, and it's great. We're getting ready to go into our 3rd season, and the kids are getting better and better every season.
Talk a little bit about that, the kids, how they find them, what maybe surprises you when they get on the set, and some stories that folks would enjoy.
Well, the process is very similar to most other shows. They try out, they have to go in and audition, and some come through referrals, some come through auditions, and they show up and they just amaze you. You know, they come on set and you look at them and you think, little kids, right? You're like, oh, look, I remember there was one kid and he had the most beautiful big eyes. And every time I saw him, I just wanted to go, oh. And then he cooked. And I wanted to say, bravo, chef. I mean, you just forget that they're amazing chefs. So when you look at them, you think kid, and then they do something that wows you and you never look at them a kid anymore. So when people ask me, is it hard judging a kid? And I'm like, no, because I don't really see them that way anymore.
Do you think there's been this criticism, I guess, of our culture of introducing children to adult-type activities too early and the kind of the pressure that it puts on them? Do you see any of that with these kids? Maybe they got stage mothers pushing them or something?
There are some mothers who can sit down somewhere. But the kids, the good thing about once they're on the show, the mother, the parents in general, they can't communicate with them while they're there. So they get to be them. They get to laugh. I think the energy between the competitors at a young age like that is so good. As an adult, when you get into competing, everything is so strict and you're trying so hard to prove a point, and you're almost even cutthroat in things, right? No, the kids, they're trying to help each other. They're just trying to make great food. They want to learn. So when you tell them and you tell them about a dish on something they messed up, and for me, I always make sure that I give them something they can go away with, right? So it's, you made this dish, you didn't sear it properly. This is what you want to do next time. And then the next time they get up, they're like, oh, chef, I did it this way this time. Can you see the difference? Yes, I do, actually, And so they're always learning, and they're never afraid. They take chances. It's great.
Now, is the show seasonal, or like it's the new fall season of Top Chef Junior, or is it kind of running all the time and/or streamed?
No, it's seasonal. We finished, I guess, it was summer, season 2. So we don't always know when the next one's gonna come out. So I don't know. We haven't filmed season 3 yet, nor do we know the time frame yet.
But they can get information on the on the website.
Oh yeah, go to Top Chef Junior.
Okay, that's great. That's fun. But that opened the door to a whole. I mean, Top Chef was kind of a cool thing for you in your career, wasn't it?
I remember the first season that I judged Top Chef Junior. Mm-hmm. I had a moment where I sat there and I was thinking about it was where the kids were getting ready to come through the door and they were introducing them to us for the first time. And I just had a moment of like, oh my gosh, I was on the other side. Like that was me one day. And now here I am judging. Wow, Lord, thank you, Jesus. Like this is great, And so it was one of those moments where I just sat and I was very thankful for the moment and for everything that life has brought.
And that has opened up a lot of other opportunities for you that people may or may not get to see watching television or something else with special events and private events and things like that.
Honestly, Top Chef has changed my life. I was cooking in restaurants and enjoying it, but just cooking and making my way up and then being able to get that national attention truly opened up more doors. Who knows if it would have happened later? People say, well, if had Top Chef not been along, do you think that you would be here? Honestly, I don't know. I don't know because that's not the case. That wasn't the route for my life at that time. And so the only thing I know is that it has opened up many doors and many opportunities. I've got to meet and touch people that I've never dreamed of. And I've had big dreams all my life, so it's been great.
Big energy, big dreams, yeah, and big success, much deserved. When we have talked before, whenever I have the pleasure of coordinating with your schedule, which I'm thankful for you taking the time to be with us today, you were working on a group that was lobbying for food waste labeling, and are you still working in that? How's it going?
FPA, it's FPA, Food Policy Action. We were working on the Farm Bill at the time, and in the Farm Bill, it also covers food labeling, obviously food waste, agriculture, SNAP programs, all these things. And so I go to DC and I'm lobbying. I can't even believe that's my life. I'm lobbying to basically help change the food system, the way things that are set up now. And so the Farm Bill is now, we're going to see where we're at. The bill has not been officially voted on, but we are at the Senate now, so we'll see what happens.
That's great. Why is that important? Let people, given it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's important to know where our food's coming from. It's important to know the processes that it takes. A lot of times we just eat things and we wonder why we have all these breakouts, right? We wonder, why is salmonella now such a big issue and there's so many things? Well, the problem is how we're processing foods, number one, which goes back to the Farm Bill. So there are some areas in the bill where it's the clean water. So a person who goes through all the practices to do an organic farm, someone a few hundred yards down the road may not have an organic farm. And that water that they're both using ideally is seeping over to other areas. So if you have a chicken coop and they are cutting down all of that and breaking down, sorry to be so graphic, but that's what a chicken coop does, right? And so there are the feces from that animal that could get into the farm. That is important. That's why it's important that we have rules in place that will ideally help all of us, so we can't have cross-contamination in those ways, not just processing, but while it's being grown and in the soil. It's so important.
You've got a great grasp of a broad and big and important issue. It sounds to me like you'd be really good maybe writing some of these laws. Any aspirations for politics?
The fact that I'm even here talking politics is it's unreal to me. The more that I learn, the more I feel the responsibility to talk about it more. There are things that I didn't know before and I didn't understand how it all worked. I understood that, this doesn't seem right. And if this doesn't seem right, then, maybe this is what we should do, right? I mean, all seem to me black and white. And the more you get into it, you realize that there's a lot of gray. And it's like, how do we clear it up? And though I can't change many things, I can work on a few things little by little. And I think the perseverance of what we're doing with FPA will make the difference.
Well, if Oprah ever decides to take a pay cut and run for president, maybe she can get you involved in some projects with her, which I think sounds pretty cool.
Sounds great to me.
Yeah. Say, what about the Chef Bonnet Diaries? We're seeing you in Uno.
Tammany. Tammany, have you enjoyed our Chef Bonnet?
I have enjoyed it very much.
Well, let folks in on that. I hadn't seen it before, so thanks, Tammany, for revealing it. Yeah.
My bestie, Uno, in Monavong, she has Red Sticks, and she opened Chino Chinatown. And her and I, one day, I went on vacation. And, of course, she's like, where are you going? Can I go? And so I'm like, okay, you can drive up and hang with me and my mom and my dad. Okay. So she comes, and when I go to bed, I wear a bonnet. And she's like, why do you always wear this? And I'm like, a bonnet? And she's like, I've never seen this before. And it's what you put on your hair to go to sleep. And those of us with hair that's not perfectly textured, we need a little extra help. And so she's like, well, why aren't I wearing a bonnet? I'm like, you don't need a bonnet. So somehow she wanted to wear the bonnet, and we turned on the camera, and boom, Chef Bonnet Diaries were created. Everyone loved, I think, the bonnets because she bought us some hot pink bonnets. Of course, she has to do it extra. And then we just talked about life issues, restaurants, dating. We both were single at the time, and so we had a lot of fun. She put me on an app, a dating app. I put her on a dating app, and we just it was the best.
Now, is this a regular? It was Facebook Live, right?
Yes, we do it usually every 2 weeks. But with me being gone over the holidays, we didn't get a chance to do our December one. But yes, we do a Facebook Live, and people talk to us, and they log in, and it's becoming a thing. In fact, when I go places, they're like, "When is the next Bonnet Chronicles?" I'm like, "Really? You watch that?" They're like, "Yes, I love it."
So we need to. It looks like there should be a YouTube channel in the offing as well for this. And so, how do folks find it? They go to your
yes,
Facebook
they go
page?
to my page or hers. We both do it for
Is yours
Tiffany
just
Derry.
Tiffany Derry?
Yes, Tiffany Derry or Uno Manavong. Yes.
Okay, that's great. That is so much fun. You are so engaged and involved and passionate about the work you do and the projects you're working on and helping other people. What kind of advice do you give young women who approach you and say, "Tiffany, I want to be a chef. What should I do? What should I look out for?" What do you tell them?
I tell them first learn the business. I think that you can't be effective in what you do if you don't know the real deal, right? So we have to really build a foundation. I find a lot of the younger generations coming up now wanting to do things for the wrong reason, wanting stardom or wanting to be known. Instead, if you want to be a chef, I think it's important that you at least do the duties of a chef. If you want to be a restaurateur, you should work in a restaurant. You should work at a lower pace of the restaurant, right? You're not going to come in being the chef. So it's important to understand that you're going to have to put your time in. If you want to be a personal chef, work for someone who is a great personal chef. Work for a great caterer. You know, if you're going to do something, do it to the best of your knowledge. And that means that you're going to have to get with the best. The other thing I think is important for us all to have is mentors. I don't think, especially in the African American community, we don't talk about that because I think it's all kind of like a lot of times you just do you and you hold on to what you have and you try to do that. And one thing that I found out is that when I bring people into some of the great things that's happening, or I give opportunities to others instead of holding everything for myself, something else good happens for me. And I believe that what's meant for you is meant for you. So if we share, then we all win. I think that there's plenty room at the table. And so I think that we just have to reach out and continue to help. The problem that most of us see, and the people who are successful see it as well. You get burned a few times, right? You put your hands out, you help somebody, and they do you wrong. Well, that's just part of the process, you know? And so you just have to keep going and know that what you're doing is worthwhile and that it's going to pay off.
Absolutely. It is an abundant world, and giving back is what is where it's at.
Yes.
You're so wonderful. It's so great to have you here. Now, Tammany, I've just hogged the conversation. You're our guest gourmet. Is there anything you want to ask Tiffany in closing before we wrap it up?
Tiffany, I'm just so proud of you. I've known you for, oh my God, how many years since
I've been in Dallas.
A long time, many years. And I'm just so in awe of you and the things that you're accomplishing, the things that you're doing and giving back. You hit it on the nail. You got to give back and you got to help people and you got to lift them up. And I see you doing that in your business, and people do need to start, and they got to learn and they got to grow, and they need mentors. You're so right. And we've got to keep doing that and helping others every single day. And what a wonderful world this would be if more people had the same attitude that we all have in this room.
Perfect.
And I want an exclusive when you open that restaurant, please. I want to be one of the first customers there.
So,
yes, ma'am.
Roots Chicken Shack is ongoing, Legacy Hall, and other locations to be announced. And then tell me again the name of the restaurant. I want to write it down. Roots
Southern Table.
Roots Southern Table, to be open in the third quarter 2019, somewhere delightful in Dallas, Fort Worth.
Beautiful area of Dallas.
All right.
In the middle of Dallas. How about that?
Yeah, and available on the spot. And Grubhub will bring stuff to you if you aren't nearby.
That's correct.
Yeah. Tiffany, thank you so much for joining us. Continued success and well-being to you. You're delightful. And folks, thank you for joining us. And I'll wish you the same thing, continuing success and well-being. And thank you for joining us for Wining and Dining with Jim White. Remember, if anybody asks you what you're making for dinner, tell them reservations at Tiffany's new place when it opens.